Commitment, courage and care, the pathway to anti-racist leadership. And before we begin, I'd like you to just work with me. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Now, breathing is something we can take for granted. Breathing is something that we need to keep ourselves sustained and alive. And breathing is really difficult to do if there are blockages to our otherwise equitable society remain. It makes it really difficult for us as leaders of spaces, of sectors, to fulfill what we want to, which is to be an anti-racist leader, not tolerating the existence of racism within our organisations and spaces. And I believe, as a society, it's as if we are hyperventilating about the issue of race and racism, race equity. What is it? What does it mean? So it's important that we remember to breathe, take time to learn, be brave, and handle this sensitive issue with care. What can often happen as leaders of spaces is that we get scared, we become worried, and we're unsure about what it is we should do. And as leaders, what that does is it blocks our ability to breathe through the blockage that is racism and does exist within our society today. If we take time, if we breathe, if we remember our shared humanity, it is possible to move that blockage on a little bit. Now, in spite of these blockages, there have been people who've broken through. People who've broken through the barriers in order to achieve. People who have breathed through the blockages and circumnavigated their way around racism within society. Who would have thought in the 19th century a black British woman would have travelled more than halfway across the world through self-funded means, that's another conversation for another day, to help soldiers during the Crimean War? Who would have thought in 2004 we would have had the first woman of colour appointed to the High Court of England and Wales? And who would have thought in 2021, Wales would have voted for the first statue of a woman in Wales as Betty Campbell, MBE, my grandmother, who, yeah, clap, please, because more than for me, whose achievements around contributions to education and the fact that she became Wales's first black head teacher in the 1970s was something that was recognised and valued. What links all these three females? I believe hope. All of them would have used hope, and I know my grandmother's case, that was something that was really important for her. She believed that representation mattered. She believed in the importance of visibility. And as leaders of various sectors here this evening, I'd like you to reflect on what we can learn from her and others that have come before. It hasn't always been easy, but hope has supported her to really break through those barriers. So in the places and spaces you work in and lead, when you look around the room, who is at that decision-making table? Whose voice is heard? Whose voice is muted? Whose voice is elevated? And it's important as leaders we have these reflections and we're brave enough to breathe through the difficulties, to overcome the hyperventilation and that state that we're in. So for the rest of the time this evening, I'm going to focus on hope, not the blockage that is racism. I'm going to hopefully move us through understanding the importance of moving beyond a space of talking about this into a space of action. A space where everybody can see themselves represented, a space where everybody can see the value of each other. because the issues and the racism that was around then is still around today. And it's important that we acknowledge that through hopeful means and galvanise on this wonderful journey Wales is on in leading the way of change. Commitment, courage, and care. These three items, for me, are really, really essential to anti-racist leadership. Now, I work with lots and lots of leaders, mainly in education, but across all sectors. Leaders have got to be committed. They've got to get behind a new idea. They've then got to have the courage to see that idea through. And care. Where would we be without care? It's important that we remember this. In education in particular, that's the one C that can become lost. Care can become lost in the busyness of work. Care can become lost in the fact that we're striving for these outcomes for young people. Care can become lost because we do not see our shared humanity in each other, and so we can place varying levels of value and worth to people, depending on what they look like and what racialized background they are. But if we're honest about the state of play today, what we will know is that it doesn't matter if we're talking about health, education, employment, or any other sphere. People from global majority backgrounds in the UK are often not doing the best and are often doing the worst. Now, in post-2020, particularly after May and George Floyd's murder that happened, we started talking about race. We started talking about racism a lot more. We started to shift this blockage, which is great. Lots more of us are coming round to this idea now that actually it's not good enough to be non-racist. It's not good enough to stand still and do nothing. Being actively anti-racist is key. It's important. Committing to that action. Because the cost of remaining silent is too high. The cost is paid at a premium by those from global majority backgrounds. And so as leaders of spaces, it's really important that we harness these 3 C's in order to support us through how to carry that action out. The leaders that I've worked with who've really taken these on board, they've carried out wider reading. They've had conversations with other people within their space and beyond. They've been really reflective, and they've been okay to sit within their discomfort. They've been okay to hold that reflective mirror up and to be honest about what they see. They've sought advice from others where needed. Now, this hasn't always been easy, but leading is not easy. What have they done, though? They've acknowledged the difficulties that are clear and present today in terms of racism. They've been really clear about wanting to communicate this, so when they have been faced with resistance, even by those from their senior team, they've had the strength to stand still and to keep moving forward and to keep moving in the correct direction. They're no longer good enough in their minds just to say, well, maybe it shouldn't be a priority this year. Or, I'm not sure we have enough money in the budget for this. They're committed. They're committed because they see the inequalities that exist and they want to do something about it. They're no longer okay with saying, this is not my responsibility. And what they want to do, and what they are doing, is taking up their mantle and running with it, which is brilliant. So commitment, courage, and care is really important. We're moving from an inactive state of being to an active one. It's no longer good enough to try to bypass responsibility. Leveraging positions of power in order to make change that advances and benefits everybody is what great leaders do. So whilst I'm not a life coach, as many people have been this evening or are. The leaders I've worked with have embraced this. And where they have, their workspaces have been far more equitable and their leadership has been transformational. You see, anti-racism, race equity, it's not about winners and losers. Everybody wins. We go back to Ubuntu. Everybody wins. And so even though that blockage is there, we are breathing through it, which is brilliant. Finally, we are going to end as we started. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. And as you breathe out, I hope you take up this mantle and unblock the blockage that is racism today. Thank you.